Guys, before the episode started, things were getting a little contentious in here.
You didn't want to ease into that, Julio. We would have gotten there.
We can talk about Ashton Kutcher all day, but let's get to the bread and butter here. Welcome back to Oops the Podcast.
All right, lots to unpack here.
I got something for you.
Please. Julio, I don't know where you came up with that idea.
Dude, this guy was a huge turkey.
What is this, Japan? Which is one of the reasons why I hadn't told you about it.
No, and I also just assumed you were saving it for the pod if you were going to tell me.
Yeah.
Which, of course, you were.
Oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Oops the Podcast. As ever, I'm Francis Ellis, joined by my co-host Julio Gallerati.
Hello.
And today's special guest, ladies and gentlemen, one half of Chicks in the Office, a podcast that routinely ranks at the top of the charts. She is a absolute foremost authority on all things Bachelor, Bachelorette, pop culture icon herself, as well as expert in the field. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the OG Barstool employee, Rhea.
Thank you for having me.
So happy to have you.
I'm so happy to be here. This will be fun.
People always compliment me on my intros.
It was really good.
He does
as you were doing it, I was like, fuck, my intros are so bad.
I have fun with them.
These are really good.
I have fun with them.
Mine are good depending on the person. Like, I do really good ones for Trent.
Yeah.
Like, Trent will always be like, I never know where you're going with it, but it's always good. It really depends on the person. Like I said before, we just had Josh Jamel on, and I was already thinking about pronouncing his last name correctly. So I fucked up and I said special guest, and then Fran and Noah were like, "Ooh, you're nervous." And I was like, "Oh my god!" I started getting red. I was like, "I promise, I wasn't that nervous. I was already thinking about pronouncing your name wrong."
Yeah.
So
he's a guy who has been cast for being hot.
So we were looking at his IMDb before he came on, and we were like, "Wow, he hasn't been in that many things, but he's just very famous."
Yeah.
He was
like,
a model, right?
Yeah, and I brought that up to him. He did the international modeling competition, and Ashton Kutcher was runner-up, and he won.
Whoa, what the fuck?
And he said that he
It's
was
like the 2003 NBA draft.
right.
Yeah.
He was like, I didn't work for 4 years, and I won, and Ashton Kutcher got Calvin Klein and that 70s show and all that.
That's what they say happens when you win one of those.
Ashton Kutcher, you almost sometimes forget how hot he is in a weird way.
He's coming here.
Wow.
He is.
He's got a new rom-com coming out that I am excited about. I haven't been excited about a rom-com. It's with Reese Witherspoon. Thank goodness.
Yes.
Thank goodness. The world needed one of these movies.
Rom-coms have been really bad.
They've been horrible. They've been microwave dinners for so long.
Are there any good new ones?
I'm telling you, this one. I think it's, what is it called? House Trade or something?
I forget the name of it, but it's that.
My Place or Yours. That's what it's called.
I'll watch anything Reese Witherspoon is in, and she always plays like the rich white mom who is above everybody, but then she figures it out in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Big Little Lies, Little Fires Everywhere. I need her back in one of those shows as well.
Yeah. Both of those shows. Big Little Lies is sort of a cut above. I liked Little Fires Everywhere, but I thought Big Little Lies to me was like art.
Really, yes.
It's just
really
art.
Good.
You watched that, right?
Mm-mm.
Oh, buddy.
I know. I need to watch
it's
it.
so good.
Oh,
Two
buddy.
seasons.
I
Meryl
watched
Streep's
stuff.
in the second one.
Meryl Streep.
Oh God.
Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep.
And not only that, but the setting is a major character in that it's shot in a beautiful part of Northern California.
Mm-hmm.
It's that sort of, where is it? It's
Marin County.
I think it's Laguna Beach.
It's not.
No?
It's not that far south. It's like where the cliffs are. It's
Santa Barbara?
Monterey.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's only an hour or so south of San Francisco. So it's well north of LA.
Got it.
But my God, it's a very rich part of the world, and they have these cliffs and the driving, and there's a great intro. You watch the intro every time.
I hate San Francisco. You just mentioned San Francisco.
I know, not a fan either. But that part seems pretty cool. A lot of Silicon Valley wealthy people there.
Guys, before the episode started, things were getting a little contentious in here.
You didn't want to ease into that, Julio. We would have gotten there.
We can talk about Ashton Kutcher all day, but let's get to the bread and butter
Yeah, well, first of all, let's start with this. So Rhea, you are, as far as I can tell, one of the foremost authorities on the world of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, right?
Yep.
Now, we have a special connection to that world in that my college roommate was a guy named Romeo Alexander, whom we have had as a guest on this show, I've written about, and was a very funny kind of blending of worlds. Now, I want to hear your take on Romeo Alexander.
I'll start with my take on The Bachelor and Bachelorette as a whole.
Sure.
I don't really like the show,
Oh.
and I've talked about that plenty of times. I actually love to hate the show. Like I watch.
You hate watch it?
I hate watch it. I have to watch it. I've been begging them for weeks to take me off of the recaps. Like they won't allow that.
Yeah.
I literally texted them on Monday, the night of The Bachelor, and I said, "This is your guys' last chance to take me off of cutting steps." And they said, "If we have to suffer, so do you." And I was like, "But you guys love it." Like there's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a different type of suffering. I just think it's like the same thing over and over again, and nobody ever really ends up together. They gotta like change it up a little bit. I do get really into it when it's like an entertainment factor. Like Romeo was annoying, and that's fun to talk about, right? It's fun to be like, that person's annoying. I can't stand that person. But I'm not watching to be like, yeah, these people are really gonna fall in love.
Right.
So that's my like, I wouldn't say I love the show, but I love to hate it.
You mentioned potentially reworking it. Do you have an idea for how they could tweak the show?
No, they got to just stop it for a long time and then maybe bring it back. I think the problem is that there's so many, like there's The Bachelor, there's The Bachelorette, there's Bachelor in Paradise. And once The Bachelor starts, it goes back to back to back. And you're like, oh my God, is this ever ending? But then when we have some time off from it's like literally like the football season for us. Like, and then we have time off from it. It's like, oh, okay, I missed it a little bit. But now that it's back Monday night, I'm like, that was boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I wish I could just pop in for like the really exciting moments.
Yeah.
But
So you don't have to get married at the end of the show, right?
no.
Maybe
So
that would make
it's
it
about-
more binding
well,
and
the
more
thing
exciting.
Is, right. So that's like Love is Blind.
You
on
have to get
Netflix.
married on Love is Blind?
You don't have to. You have to walk down the altar, and then decide at the altar, are you going to marry this person or not?
Jesus.
That
Is
Which is crazy.
outrageous.
And people do get married.
That was like that on season 1 too?
Yeah.
What?
Some people
How
call
do I
it
not
off
remember
before,
that?
but I think a lot of times they push them to get to the point to get to the altar and say no. Bachelor, it's gotten to the point where it used to be they get engaged at the end, but now it's like they just leave together. They can really do whatever they want at the end. So you're like, what am I watching this for? It's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
But it ropes you in. I don't know. We got to watch it.
That's fun. I love the idea that you guys will have guests on your show from the cast, and they know you openly don't like what they're doing.
Oh yeah, we have had.
Oh, that's awkward.
It's actually crazy. We have had plenty of guests on our show that we have talked shit about many of times, and they kind of love it though. Like
Romeo loved it too, dude.
They appreciate it, which I love. Like we just had The Bachelor on. And he started talking about, like, I know I'm painted as, like, the boring bachelor. And Fran and I were like, I think that was us saying that. Like, I think we painted you as the boring bachelor.
That was our painting.
And there's another guy, Nick Vial, who's, like, very famous in the Bachelor world, where, like, I didn't even watch his season, and I still shit on him all the time. Just, it's fun to do sometimes. Yeah. And then he came in, we, you know, became friendly or whatever, and it took him, like, a little bit, but now he always says, like, it's like a brother-sister, like, back and forth type of thing.
That's cool.
So it wouldn't be fun if we couldn't talk shit about them.
Right.
And then
right.
they come in. Like Bachelorette, same thing. We talked shit about her when she was on the show. She came in here and she was like, oh my God, I totally agree, watching myself back. Like it was awful. But they're always great people when you meet them in person. Like it's just TV.
This is where I have to take issue with reality TV on the whole. I have noticed that the vast majority of reality TV people, whether it's the reality TV game show like The Bachelor or something like Summer House on Bravo or any of these shows, those people profess a level of self-awareness. And they often say, you know, I know it's pretty silly and, you know, they kind of like make us look our worst and we all know it's not real. There's a separation between the character you see and who we are in real life. But dude, they say that and then they don't have that separation.
No,
they believe they are those people. And if you kind of wind them up a little off camera in a safe space, they get right back into being that
Yes.
nut job you see on the fucking
Yes.
show. There's not a separation, which probably they need to have. You need to be that committed to method act that crazy on TV.
Let's not call it method acting, dude.
It is not method
that is-
acting. It's just them.
But that's exactly right. I mean, there is a
the
blending of
opposite of
worlds
method
where
acting.
they pretend to know how to cut it off and that's not who they really are. But, you can't get to a 7th season of one of those shows without becoming the Jekyll and Hyde one.
I will say, separate Bachelor and Bachelorette, all those shows versus every other reality show, the Bachelor and Bachelorette do funky editing. They actually do that. They will cut in words when someone's not on the screen to make them seem like they said something they didn't. That's true.
Wow.
The other shows, I can't say that for. I agree with you with the other shows, with all like the Bravo TV shows. I think that those people kind of are who they are.
Yeah.
Bachelor and Bachelorette, though, is a different kind of editing.
Mhm.
And that's been admitted before.
Interesting.
That
Yeah.
they edit in a way that will make you believe something happened that didn't happen.
That's
crazy.
tough. That
That's
makes you
crazy.
feel a little helpless, I guess. Interesting. Well, that's very cool, Rhea. Now, you guys, listen. So Rhea and I when I started working at Barstool through that Barstool Idol, speaking of reality shows, that was in 2017, I think.
Yeah.
And you had just started as one of Caleb's interns. Is that right?
Yeah, 2016, September 2016, I started as an intern.
Yeah. And you were
19.
Wow.
19
I had
years
just
old.
turned 19 that July.
19 years old.
Mhm.
And she came in with Glennie Balls. They were both interns for Caleb, and Glennie was, I don't know, 20 himself.
He was 20, yeah. We went to high school together, so
You
we
two
were
knew
good
each other.
friends.
Where'd
Yeah.
you grow up?
Seaford, Long Island.
Cool.
So we went to Kellenberg, and we were actually good friends in high school. Like, people think the story is like we were like acquaintances. Like, we were actually good friends.
Yeah.
And so when he got hired, I texted him like, congratulations. And he was like, oh, they're actually looking for a girl.
Oh.
So then I came in.
Nice.
And then, yeah, you.
Yeah, I came in, and Rhea was, an intern, I guess.
Yeah.
But not for that long, right?
I was an intern for about a year
Wow.
until I became full-time. And I look back, and like Robbie Fox and I will talk about this too. And I was like, man, we were assholes. Like, for some reason, we thought we were so cool when we were interns. But it was probably because it was a little different. Like, back then in the old office was a
Mhm.
lot smaller. They paid a lot more attention to the interns. You wanted people to be tweeting about you that worked in the office. And we look back, I'm like, I can't believe like some of the stuff I did or said or acted. Like, I'm so embarrassed of. But I guess, I mean, I work here now, so
Yeah.
it worked out.
Yeah. Everybody's leveled out a little bit, I would say, from those early days. But I mean, my God, I came in and I was 27, and I was not equipped to handle all of it, and I can't even imagine being 19 years old and being thrust onto that stage that had
Mhm.
been set by Dave and Big Cat and Kevin for all of those years.
Yeah, it was, I was fine at first, like because I was like, ooh, I don't know about anything. Like, I remember I didn't even know like comment sections existed or whatever until like a couple months in where somebody mentioned like, oh, they're saying, I was like, wait, what? That exists? Like,
Yeah.
I kind of had no idea. I had followed Barstool from Kevin and Clem because my dad's a really big Mets fan. So I was a Mets fan and I just like would follow along with that stuff. And then obviously Glenn when he started, but I was like fine with everything. And then it started getting like, things started getting in my head a lot. Not in a way where like I thought who I was, but like like, oh my God, everyone hates me. Everyone's
Yeah.
calling me ugly all the time. Like,
Oh,
this
God.
is like, I was like, it really like fucked with my head for a little bit.
Right.
But now, like, I feel like I've had a couple of big things happen now that I really don't care.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. Once, like, really big things happen where everyone's coming after you, it's, you gotta just have to not, like, that's when you really just don't care. Because if
Yeah.
you care, you're gonna jump off a bridge.
When you
Like,
get through it,
yes.
it definitely adds another layer of armor and in a way numbs you a bit to the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's fun. So we had a whole episode about what you're referring to.
Yeah.
And it's interesting now. I mean, I had no context at the time. but now it's like interesting to see like all the different characters that were involved in the controversy,
Yeah.
including
Yeah, we could talk about. I really don't care. I'll talk about anything. It's just
As a quick recap, there was an episode that Julia and I did before we had come back to Barstool, where we talked about Rhea, who had been discovered to be dating another Barstool personality, Marty Mush. And you guys were a surreptitious photo was taken of you on the streets of Seattle,
where you were,
you
were on our flight home, which is what I wanted to
I
mention to
texted you guys.
No, you were on our flight home, and Devin saw you sleeping when we walked onto the plane and took a picture of you.
Oh my God.
And texted us and was like, oh my God, Francis is on our flight right now. And we were like, imagine Francis knew he was on our flight in the middle of all this, because when everything happened,
He was there.
So
He was
funny.
there.
And that's what I've been waiting to tell you, because with like the whole Chicks in the Office group, I told them I was coming on. They were like, you have to tell him about him being on the plane. And I was like, I know, I don't want to like say it beforehand, but I have to wait till
Real.
The plot
But it
thickens.
was so funny because like we were on tour for 2 weeks before that. So we did 6 shows, and on the last show, this happened. And so we were getting on our flight home, and Dave is tweeting all these things, and I'm like, we are about to be on a 5-6 hour flight. I forget how long. And I'm like, like this is all happening right now. So it was very stressful in the moment because we weren't home. We'd been away for 2 weeks. We just did 6 shows. I'm about to be on a flight. I was like, oh my God, what is happening?
Yeah.
But surprisingly, we remained really calm together.
Uh-huh.
Like that may shock people, because I feel like people were like, oh my God, they must be like freaking out, blah, blah. Like the two of us remained very calm together,
Yeah.
which is weird, because we were kind of just like, well, we know we want to be together, so as
Oh,
long as
you
we,
and Marty. I was thinking you and Fran.
No,
You're in the
me and
trenches
Marty,
together.
Like, we were like, well, we know we want to be together.
Yeah.
This was going to happen eventually. At least we have each other. And we were like totally like calm at home.
Right. Wow.
We only need each other, babe.
It sounds
great.
really cheesy, but it actually is true. Like,
Yeah.
people would be like, how are you, blah, blah. And I was like, we're actually, like, I didn't cry once, which is insane.
Yeah.
Like, you would expect, like, you know, everyone's coming after you. But I was like, weirdly, at the end of it, it was like kind of like a blessing in disguise. Like, oh, thank God this happened. Like, it's bad right now, but eventually it'll be okay.
So, if you didn't hear us talk about it, or you're not keyed into the world of Barstool, just to finish that recap, Rhea and Marty, a photo was taken of you guys by a fan of your show, while you two were on the streets in Seattle, sort of holding hands, and they posted it to the Reddit thread for your podcast, Chicks in the Office. And then it gained a lot of traction there, and it said, oh, are Rhea and Marty dating? And nobody had known, I guess, in the public that you two were dating. And it was news because you, for many years, were dating Hank, who was another Barstool personality, producer on Pardon My Take, well-liked personality here. And you guys had been sort of the office couple for a long time. And I think it was known that you two had broken up, but it was
For a year.
for a long time, but it was not known that you were dating Marty, right? So you got paparazzi'd by one of your own fans.
Yeah. And I've had fans,
Which is unbelievable.
It's crazy because they didn't realize like what they were doing.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like, I can't really blame them, you know?
Yeah.
But we've joked before, like, damn, like they snitch, but other girls that I've met have come up to me and been like, you know, we saw you too, and we're not fucking snitches. Like, we didn't post it anywhere. And I was like,
Nice.
good for you. But at
Nice.
the same time, like, I do know that I work in a world where, like, we see stuff on, like, Dumois, because it was posted on Dumois. Like, we see people on Dumois all the time. So, like, can't really be shocked that something like that would happen. I just didn't know I was that popular.
Isn't that
like,
amazing?
I was like, oh my God. Like, a little part of me was like, whoa, people care that much.
Yeah, should I have sold these photos? like
TMZ, they didn't want any part in this.
Hello.
Oh,
Why did
wow.
it take so long? That's amazing. And to realize, I think that, wow, my relationship is being gossiped about and featured in the same way that all celebrity relationships are, and it's creating a stir of a similar tenor, must have been a very interesting moment for you.
It was interesting because I feel like I hope Fran and I do a good job of when we talk about pop culture that we like always say that there's another side of the story that people don't know. Like we always include that. We always have been like, we don't know everything. And I think that after that point, I was like, you know, people have all these assumptions and make up rumors and stories of how they think something happened and this and that. And you see it all and you're like, this is not true at all. But there's so many that you can't respond to everyone and debunk every single rumor or whatever, because then if you say one's not true and then you don't say the other one, they're like, well, she didn't say this.
Right.
So I had to stop myself
Butterfly effect.
from like commenting on a bunch of things, but then it kind of helped like going forward when talking about the
you can't get it all. It's
no,
just as soon as you start, it's like an endless time.
Right. I actually think I did a pretty good job. I put out like 1 or 2 tweets. That was it. And then we talked about it on our podcast for like 10 minutes and then that was it. And I think it was like a lesson to myself, like you don't need to respond to everybody. There's so many people talking about you right now, but like just let them say whatever they want. And then talking about pop culture going forward, I was kind of like, every time we talked about something, I was like, all right, this happened, but like this is probably 1% of the story because being on the other side of it, like you want to tell everybody everything, and then you're just like, I don't have the time to respond to every single comment that these people have, like whatever. At the end of the day, as long as my friends know, my family knows, we know, it's really all that matters.
Such an interesting moment.
Did it change the nature of the way that you cover like gossip now, having gone through that?
Well, because it's my job, I still have to talk about it. But I will say, like, like there's many stories that happen where I always remind people, like, hey, just like this comes out headline, these people aren't talking about it. The 2 people involved, or 3 people, whoever, how many people are involved, there could be more to the story that you just don't know. Which I think is true for literally everything. I think that you probably have dealt with something, like everybody has dealt with that before, but you can't, it would be so time consuming to just respond to every person.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And as long as you're okay with yourself, which is, I think what helped us is that we felt okay, which I know is crazy because people are like, you guys are assholes. And it's like, you could think that, but I still was okay with myself. So
yeah, as you should have been. I just I know you have an issue with me on this, but we were of the mind. I can say this.
Your tweet said otherwise.
I can say this, and we'll get to that.
Bandwagon tweet.
But I can say that when we discussed that whole thing on our podcast, Ryan, do you know what episode that was? Okay. We were both of the mindset of, my goodness, this seems strange to us. It was we both thought it was strange, right?
I think what was frustrating at the time was that like people were texting me and whatever, being like, this is so crazy, like why does everyone care so much, blah blah blah. But then I would see like tweets and other things they would be saying otherwise, and I was like, you're just trying to appeal to you know, the higher ups, trying to get them on your side by saying you don't agree with this, but then you're texting and calling me saying you agree with me. So like, you know? And
so
I don't remember what I said, to be honest, on that episode. Do you?
I said, you know, that she's dating another guy from work.
I remember the story, but I forget like what and now that I'm like sitting with you and like I'm like, oh, I know you now. It's becoming harder and harder to remember what the fuck I said. You know what I mean? Because like
if you talk shit, it's fine.
No, I don't think
we did.
I don't think I did.
I think we were both pretty adamant on the side of.
I think we were on some like, oh, that poor young lady.
Yeah, but also we were also just like, wow, this doesn't sound wrong at all. Was our take?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their opinion on it, and at the end of the day, we just did what made us happy, and like that may sound selfish,
right?
But I'm also like, I feel like if it's something that makes you happy, then you know, we didn't murder somebody. Like it's, you know, like because then they were like, oh well, you're saying something makes you happy, you could do something really bad that makes you happy, and it's like, but this is not like that. No. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's interesting. For me, I would think when you guys started posting, you know, really loving photos of each other on your birthdays and things like that, I felt like that started to turn the tide a bit of people where they were like, oh, they truly are in love and this is a loving couple, and like How can you be mad at love?
Yeah, I don't think like.
Amen.
I mean, I would say we are, and thank you.
Yeah.
And I don't post as much as I feel like not that I would like to, because I think I would like to keep it more private, but it's not private at all. So we kind of reached a point where we're like, all right, everybody knows we're dating. Like, we don't need to not post this cute picture.
Yeah.
But I think Fran and I were talking about this the other day, and she was just saying, like, it's so, for the people in your life, like, they know that you guys are so in love and, like, are so happy together, and that's really, like, all that matters, even if the pictures are cute or whatever.
Do you watch the show The Crown?
No.
So do you
not
remember?
A royal person.
Oh, I'm not either, but the show is
I've heard
magical. It's really quite good. But I remember distinctly, I was young when the whole Princess Diana,
Oh yeah, I remember too.
Prince Charles
Sad.
thing happened, right? And it was found out that maybe it was after she passed away, but my parents said that, you know, they'd had this divorce and he was having torrid affairs with this other lady, but that the British public had ultimately forgiven him. And by the way, I'm not drawing a direct connection, but
oh my God, you think I'm Princess Diana?
No.
Well done.
Only if, while that photo from those paparazzi fans had been taking, you guys had been hit by a car. That's how that would have been. No. And then like Beanie Babies would have been made for you. That's what they did.
Lady Di
they
Beanie
had
Baby.
a Lady Di Beanie Baby.
Rest in peace.
No. My mom and dad, I remember as a young kid, they were like, well, the British public ultimately forgave Charles for his affair because it was very clear that the Camilla, I think was her name, was the woman he was truly in love with, and they've been together ever since.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's
but there was no affair.
I know. But my point being,
important.
That's important because people make things up, but it's like,
no, I know. And I'm not.
But
that's
I get
what I'm
what
saying.
you're
I'm not drawing
I
direct
get what you're
connection.
saying,
But it's like you can't continue to be mad at someone. Reasonable people should never have been mad, but to see that you two are truly in love, it's like, well, let them be happy.
I agree with that. I think we talk about that all the time, Fran and I, when Selena Gomez and Justin Bieber, for example, right? Justin Bieber has moved on. He's married to Hailey Bieber. They're very happy. People are like, but why isn't he with Selena Gomez? And it's like, well, it didn't work out between the two of them.
Yeah.
They don't want to be together.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you got to just let him be happy with who he wants to be with.
Right.
You can't, like, the public can't decide who is with who.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
And if she were to start dating another person and was happy in that relationship, if you're going to be that mad at him, I guess you'd also have to be mad at her for being happy or something. In that
it doesn't.
It's nonsense.
Yep.
Francis, how do you feel about my hair? Did you notice I got a haircut?
I did notice.
How do you think it looks?
I think it looks pretty fresh.
Does it look nice?
Yeah. Why do you not think it looks
No,
good?
I think it looks good. I feel like a little bit of a poser, the way that it sort of like is comes out on the top. It looks like I'm trying to like fit in with TikTokers or something.
Now that you mention it, it stinks.
But it looks like I'm one of those guys. I'm trying to like be one of those guys who like knows he looks good or something in a video, who's like
makes kissy faces to the
he
kid.
does, yeah, dude, yeah. I look like I don't like the way that is looking, but hopefully I look all right. The guy who cut my hair is cool.
That's cool.
But you know, what are you gonna do, bro? I'm looking to find some new spots. I wish there were some Sports Clips locations a little closer.
Yeah, everybody that I know who gets their hair cut at Sports Clips, let me tell you something. They're looking fresh. Those are the real TikTok stars. They're not posing at all.
Well, dude, the thing that's nice is like they're people who cut hair there are trained specifically to cut men's hair.
Yeah.
Which is really good because a lot of the time you go to a barber and I've had the towel thrown in very hard on barber haircuts in New York City.
Totally.
And they talk a big game too, and then I just walk out of there looking like a turkey.
Turkey.
And that is not what you want, dude. At Sports Clips, all stylists undergo specialized training, specifically, like I said, in how to cut and style men's hair. It's not just any average haircut, man. This is the big league we're talking about, and these are haircutting professionals. Sports Clips takes cutting men's hair to another level, which is why they truly are the pros in men's hair.
Well,
did you guys watch the Selena Gomez documentary, by the way?
I did.
I watched like 15 minutes of it, and I got like too stressed to continue. It's like super stressful.
Really?
It is. It's dark. It's really dark.
What's happened to her? Is she okay?
She has. I like Selena Gomez, but she confuses me. I do feel bad for her. The documentary was really dark. She had lupus, bipolar. She's, had all these surgeries. Her friend donated her kidney. Then people were mad she didn't mention the friend in the documentary. And she just, it was very depressing, the documentary. She seems quite sad.
Oh, no.
Honestly.
And also just the pressure of, doing the things that she's doing. It, shows it well. She's preparing for a big show. She hates the way she looks.
Yeah.
She starts, freaking out. And it's just Jesus Christ.
She's very it just seemed like she was very unhappy.
Damn.
Very on edge.
She was a child star, right? Wasn't she big on Disney Channel or something
Barney,
like that?
and then Disney Channel.
Yeah. That's tough.
She had a couple bangers, dude.
She did.
Songs?
Remember, I love you like a love song, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The one with Kygo was really good, too.
Which one was that?
She had a song with Kygo. I don't remember what it was called, but it was really good. Huh? It Ain't Me. Yeah. That was
she
big.
had one with Zed, right? Because she dated him.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. I want you to know it. I want you to know. Well, to finish this, to get into the spicy side of it, we had our episode where we thought we were taking the right side of the issue. And then in the wake of that, I did what I often do, which is I try to create an absolutely ludicrous thing. And I took a photo I had taken in the mirror where I was wearing new sunglasses, but I had put a can of Prince tennis balls into my shorts and pulled my shorts taut to outline a ridiculous fake bulge. And I then created a fake. I actually used my wife's phone and then saved her contact as Hank, and had a fake back and forth text message where I recreated a message that Hank had actually sent me when I got fired, where he was like, "Hey man, really sorry to see you go. It was great working with you," or something like that, something nice. And then I responded back like, "Thanks, dude. Appreciate it." And then I sent another text like, "Yo, what do you think about these sunglasses?" And then the photo. And then "Oh shoot, sorry, wrong message." And then I tweeted "Hank's always been really nice to me, even when I sent him the wrong photo," or something like that.
Yeah.
Hashtag Team Hank.
Yeah.
Which she seems to have not forgotten.
I have not forgotten because I don't forget any person that tweeted about it or favorited things or liked things.
Yeah.
I don't forget it at all.
Interesting.
And I don't hold it against everybody. I'm sitting here right now.
Yeah.
I was getting ready this morning and I was like, he tweeted that. And then I was like, it's fine, whatever. At the time, you were looking for likes. You were trying to get a job here.
Damn.
Spicy.
Shots fired.
Spicy.
Well, then we'll go back a little farther. Because I remember in my first month of working at Barstool, I was under the absolute firing squad myself. I was dealing with people saying that I had faked cancer to get a job at Barstool.
We definitely thought that, yes.
Yeah, and then I was also dealing with the fact that I had asked out one of those Sports Illustrated swimsuit models on a
all
date.
All jokes though.
Huh?
I remember I tweeted a joke.
That's not even what I'm referring to. I didn't even know about that. What I remember was that I got called in on Barstool Radio back when there was just one show. And it was Dave hosting with, I think, Kevin co-hosting, and I think Caleb was a third host, and Big Cat was on it too. And they brought me in to utterly crucify me. I mean, I had been there 2 or 3 weeks.
They just
I've been there.
You.
And I was terrified. And they were laying into me. "You fucking psychopath. You lying son of a bitch. Who the fuck do you think you are? You're never asking out a Sports Illustrated model. These are the hottest women in the world. You're an ugly ginger.
Oh
what the fuck, man? You faked cancer to get a job here. You're a sick fuck." And Rhea called in to the show and was like, "I have something to say. Francis is a total creep."
I don't think I said that.
You said the word creep. You said the word creep.
Did I?
And I do remember that.
I don't think
and
I
didn't
did.
know. I was like, what is going on right now?
I was probably under the impression that if I like joined in, like I would,
absolutely
make a name and like.
Of course.
That's what I was referring to before, saying like when I was an intern, I look back at a lot of things.
Right.
That not all things, because still people think certain things whatever. But like with you, I'm like, why did we join in on hating on Francis? Like I'm like thinking back, I'm like, what was the point of that? But it was like kind of like with my situation when Big Cat and Dave and whatever are all, and you want a job.
It's funny. I think that I think I can truly say that when we recorded that episode, I had no idea that there would ever be a road back here, and I wasn't. Occasionally, we would talk about Barstool things, but rarely, because we were so disconnected.
Right.
And that was one where I was like, this is a relationship thing that I think bears meaning to because we talk about relationship stuff.
Yeah,
on
it was
our
a
show
good.
a
It was
lot.
a good a good discussion, and he even said beforehand, "You're like, this is like a very Barstool thing, but you'll see why I want to talk about it."
Yeah,
and a lot of people were talking about it.
Yeah,
so I don't blame you at all.
But I also can totally relate to what you just said, and I admit that there have been many times where at Barstool, when you realize that there's a big story happening, it's easy to sort of pile on. Because adding your 2 cents...
And I apologize for piling on, because I was just a 19-year-old girl who was, like, trying to be cool. You know what I mean? And I thought because you were older, like, you wouldn't be so affected by what I was saying, which is kind of silly to think, because age doesn't really matter in that sense when you're saying something about somebody. So I apologize.
That's very kind, Rhea. I will apologize back to you for tweeting the tennis ball penis.
It's okay. It was
tweet
funny. Thank you.
With hashtag Team Hank.
Well, it's interesting because as you guys are saying this, I'm seeing parallels with sort of the reality TV thing that you're talking about.
100%.
You know what I mean? Where it's like similar, like you're rewarded for participating in drama.
Mm-hmm.
It helps you grow your career. It helps you grow your followers, all that
Right.
stuff. So it's interesting to like figure out which moments to resist or to just partake.
The best thing that ever happened to me was Chicks in the Office and not participating in any office drama, because once Chicks in the Office, became like a notable podcast in a sense, like all my focus really goes into that.
Yeah.
Whereas when I didn't have Chicks in the Office, it was kind of like, what can I do to get my name out there and like whatever. And so now when office drama is happening or, that doesn't involve me, I just steer clear of it. I'll talk about it behind the scenes, but I'm not jumping in front of the Stool Scenes camera to like make a comment about what's going on.
And it is interesting that now coming back and working here again, it is markedly different.
Do you feel better?
Well, it doesn't happen very often, which may sound silly to you because you endured the biggest one. But
that's not like typical office drama. That was like real life, but it involves the office.
But like that was something that I would think can only really happen at Barstool. But I feel like something like that hadn't happened for a while before it, and it hasn't really happened much since. Whereas when we were in that old office, HQ2, those sorts of things happened on a weekly basis.
It was every day.
Yeah.
And, to inform you, because I feel bad we're talking a lot about Barstool stuff, but we would have to go into the office every single day, get there like a certain time. Dave would mark down when people walked in late. Some days it would be randomly, he'd be like, I'm going to start checking when people are in here. You would be afraid to go get lunch while they were on Barstool Radio, which was in the middle of the day, because if you were called on, you were afraid that you weren't in the office, and nobody would leave until Dave left.
Yeah.
Whereas now, you can really show up and leave whenever you want.
Or just not show up.
Or just not show up at all. And nobody, it's crazy. Like, nobody cares.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody
and I'm
is
sure
like,
they would care if they knew that people aren't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now it's kind of hard to keep, there's so many, there's so many people now. It's hard to keep track. And as long as, people can work from home now, you make TikToks, videos
as long as
from
you're doing
house,
your shit,
it's whatever. It was just way different.
But it's just the stress, the sort of trafficking in conflict and ratcheting up, silly beefs or things like that to the highest pitch. the company's really moved away from that, and that was what was the bread and butter for pretty much the whole time that I worked here the last time. So that's been a really relieving thing to learn. And to that end, there was one other thing which we won't get into too much, but do you remember that tough moment where Dave said that thing about you aging?
Yeah.
On
I remember.
Barstool
People
Radio.
remind me every day.
So,
they give me a
when
countdown.
was this? When did this happen?
Summer of 2018. So
Yeah.
I was about to be 21. So I was 20 years old. Yes.
And Dave made a joke on the radio where he said that Barstool ages people in dog years.
And I had only heard, I didn't hear the part before it. Like, I didn't hear, like, him joking around before that. And he said that I would be too ugly to be on camera in 5 years. So that was the only part that was relayed to me. So people were tweeting at me, like, Dave just said you would be too ugly to be on camera in 5 years. So I was outside the office. I stormed back in the office, stormed in the radio room. And I was crying. And people, like, still make fun of me to that day. And I had said now, like, I know now it was totally a joke. I would never be offended about something like that now. I had only heard that one part, didn't know he was kidding at the time. And also was a time where, you know, people comment all the time calling me ugly. Like, it's still, like, people rip apart my looks on a daily basis. Still. And I have gotten a lot better at not really caring about that because whatever, I have somebody who loves me and looks aren't everything at the end of the day. And whatever, it's fine. But
Wait a second.
Yeah, for the record, Rhea, you're hot.
You look great.
Thank you,
look
but
great.
people are
No, you
really,
don't have to
really
say
mean.
looks aren't everything.
No,
you
but
poor
people.
thing.
Well,
I know I've really decayed and that
It
things
just-
have really
Well,
fallen
I
apart.
will get to the part that I
Okay.
hype myself up a little bit, but
Yeah, please.
because it is like people really do tear apart my looks on a daily basis. But at that time, I had really only been working there for a little. Maybe it was about to be 2 years or whatever. But those comments would really get to my head. So to hear my boss saying something like that, I was like, oh, great. Now my boss thinks it too. Like, it's not just the commenters. But quickly I'd realized that it was a joke. Apparently the people online still don't get that it's a joke because I get DMs every day and tweets being like, you're past the 5 years, like, get by. And before that, people would have literal countdowns, like, it's going to be 5 years soon, like,
Oh my
all the
God.
time. But people will comment, and this is a comment I get every day. People are right. Dave was right about that. And I look back on what I used to look like and what I look like now, and I'm like, but he wasn't. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, and I'm like, I can objectively say that I think that I am better looking now than what I was. I'm 25 now. I feel like I'm a woman. Like, I was like 19, 20 years old. You know what I mean? I think it's almost creepy of those people to say that I looked better when I was 19 and 20 rather than a 25-year-old woman.
You're
So-
aging like the cast of Friends.
Thank you.
They got better looking each season.
You're in your prime.
I feel weird
Yeah.
even like hyping myself up a little bit because I don't want to be like whatever, but I feel like you have to a little bit just to, you know.
Yes.
You're aging like
Yes.
Josh Duhamel.
Mm. Yeah. In sea tortoise years,
Thank you.
not dog years.
Well done, dude. Well
They lived
done.
quite a long time for those who didn't understand that. Oh. Damn you, Julio.
I
and
made
your-
sure to
and your
tumble
happy
over here,
feet.
dude.
Damn you and your hopscotch that you're playing on the way over to the office.
Well, dude, when I walked out of my apartment, I forgot the things I needed to bring.
You fell down the stairs out of your apartment. That's what you did.
I texted the group saying I might be late, which is a thing I classically do because then I don't end up being late. I was like 2 minutes late.
I do the same thing.
Yeah.
too.
I'm going to be late. And then I'm not. I'm like, I just sent the longest text. It's just so annoying. But all in the spirit of the Hang-Obi, man. I did not keep my calm. And if I had been drinking a Hang-Obi calm, perhaps I would have been willing to wait.
Yeah.
Sometimes doing nothing is the only course.
Yeah.
That's some advice for you guys out there.
This is, the running joke is that every time Julio brings the calm for us to drink from his house, we open it and it just explodes. And I just like to imagine what's happening to you on the way over here. I mean, maybe you're singing the Meow Mix jingle.
Dude, my bag containing the Hang-Obis is my chain
Yeah.
for fighting people in the street.
Yeah.
I'm bashing people on the side of the head on my 10-minute walk over
You're
here.
throwing them at people and then going to pick them up.
The Hang-Obi is a slam dunk of a beverage, good for all occasions, good for mixing cocktails if you are enjoying wet January, and really nice to just drink by itself. I prefer it over a nice big ice cube.
Big one.
Preferably one of those that kind of look like a lacrosse ball. You know, like the like circle
sphere.
dense one. Yeah, the
Yeah.
spherical.
Uh-huh.
So, go pour a nice cold hangobi over a big ice cube
Yeah.
and sit there and enjoy your favorite programming. or
Guys, the
whatever
Calm
activity.
has some elderberry and chamomile in it. It's nice to drink as a little come down before bed to sort of gently send you off towards your sleep region. So
Maybe this is what you need, bro, for your
could
anger
be,
issues.
could be. Life would be I'd be a lot less rageful if
Yeah.
I were sleeping all the time.
Yeah.
So go to hangobi.com and use promo code Oops I'm Hung, no apostrophe. Oops I'm Hung, and you're gonna get 30% off. Buy yourself a couple cases. Try the Essential, try the Wake, try the Calm, mix it up. We love this product, guys. Go to hangobi.com. Excuse me, hangobi.com.
Hangobi.com.
Yeah, promo code Oops I'm Hung.
Before we end the show, though, I want to ask you about. So, are you Paisan? You're Italian?
Yes, I'm 100%
Oh yeah. Well, that-
You are too. I'm a Giulio.
Yeah, exactly. So it's rare. So your last name is Ciu, right?
Yes.
FFO.
Yep.
So I'm Giu, and I'm so used to people fucking my name up that I'm sure I can't imagine what people say about your last name.
It's so bad in school.
Caiafo?
They would be like Quifo, and I'm like, that's the worst one. And you know it doesn't look like Quifo. You know that's not how Quifo's spelled. You know what I mean? Like you're just doing that so you're allowed to say Quifo in school. Like you're looking for an excuse. But yeah, it's Chifo, and it's really supposed to be Chufo, right? Like CIU, and which is funny because my family will always be like, it's Chifo, it's meant to be Chufo. It's like, well, why didn't we go with Chufo then?
Right.
Whatever. Chifo.
No,
yeah.
but that's the thing. Like my name, Giulio. If I were to say it like really Italian, I would sound like a fucking tool.
Right. Do you
Giulio?
when you yeah, when you are at a restaurant, I'm gonna spell something out for you. I'm not gonna say it.
Okay.
How do you say Calamari?
Calamari.
Thank you. It is not Galamad. That drives me nuts.
Oh,
You know
like-
when people say like, oh, I'll have like normal accent, and then all of a sudden they're like Galamad. I'm like that. They don't talk like that. They
Yeah.
say calamari.
Yeah.
Or prosciutto.
Oh yeah,
Like-
yeah. Like dialect
Why are you
versions of
translating it in?
Right.
Yeah.
Or like just mozzarella.
mozzarella.
Yeah, they're like, I'll have the mozzarella. I'm like, I just say mozzarella
that.
sticks.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some words where like you can say them normally and not be annoying.
Right.
But then there are others that like I think saying bruschetta is not obnoxious. Because I think bruschetta is like, it would make my parents upset at me.
Or what about like, I'm embarrassed I'm even gonna say this, but like I'll say ricotta. I'm not gonna say ricotta.
Yeah, same.
Wow.
That's another one.
Sounds
There-
like
Yeah.
Chris is
Chris is very Italian
Very
as well.
Italian.
It
as
depends on the word,
Yeah.
but ricotta is like
Ricotta's
ugh.
bad.
That would-
Agreed.
okay. Well, it sounds like you guys pick and choose.
We do.
There's a way to do it. Calamari's a good example.
You can't be obnoxious about it,
Yeah.
but you have to be sly.
Fair point. Well, okay. So the last thing I want to ask you about, Rhea, is something you alluded to, which is the growth of Chicks in the Office. To me, it's truly amazing to track that both, because I remember distinctly the day that Fran walked in as an intern. She was Smitty's intern
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
from Barstool Philly.
Wow.
And it was like, I think we hired her because she was like a Philly sports fan.
Mhm.
And they were like, well, maybe she'll, I don't know, help Smitty or something.
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. And, she was an intern for a while and you were an intern. And if you fast forward not that long, the two of you have built a cornerstone podcast of the company
Thank you.
and your own brand. And as far as I can tell, your tenure here is endless, however long you'd want to be here. And you guys are major cogs, major pillars of the place.
Thank you for giving us that respect.
Yeah. Do people
not a lot of people will. Our fans will, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think what's funny is that when Dave talks about the top podcast, we are always mentioned. Chicks in the Office is always mentioned,
Yeah.
right? But the people that hate me for whatever reason or just like whatever, hate Chicks in the Office, there's no really reason to, but I understand it's, more of like a woman love it more. they'll be like, Chicks in the Office is like nothing. It's like barely anything at Barstool. It's like, how many times does Dave have to say that we are one of the biggest podcasts here for you to get it through your head? You don't want to believe it, but it's true.
People are chirping like on other shows?
No, not people here.
That's just the vibe?
That's just like, if you're not, I think most people, if you follow Barstool, would know, but there's also the people that want to pretend like it's not, you know?
But
if that makes sense.
That to me would be a product of the fact that most of the trolls and the comment section are comprised of the male stoolies who don't. I'm guessing you have a predominantly female audience on Chicks in the Office, who your fans aren't in. They're not going under the name of like butt sniffer 48.
Yeah. And that's why I was like, our
commenting on like a fucking Jerry Thornton blog.
Like our fans know, and also we have seen.
There's not some girl.
We've seen. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this, but I will. But we've seen statistics that our show, majority of our listeners don't cross over to Barstool shows.
Yeah. Right.
So, like, even though we built the show at Barstool, and this is, you know, what helped us do Chicks in the Office, and will always, it's like it's a totally different fan base.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Would have been good to know before we invited you on our show. Big fucking waste of time.
What do you mean? I'm bringing in all.
Great.
That's actually good. I'm bringing in all the people that don't.
And we.
I thought you. Okay. I took that to mean that your fans won't listen to other Barstool shows.
No, it means. It's not that they won't. If we're on the show, they will.
We'll take one.
We also have a lot of female listeners.
Yeah,
you do?
we're
I love
50-50.
That's great.
Which is really cool for us.
It's not that they don't listen to other Barstool shows. It just means that there is a whole chunk of them that found Chicks in the Office and just listen to Chicks in the Office and Chicks in the Office fans.
Yeah. Very cool. I'm sure that was very similar to of like Call Her Daddy, right?
I'm sure.
Like a lot of those fans probably didn't even know they were a Barstool podcast. Yeah. Wow. So what's your dream?
It's a good question. So I feel like I bring this up everywhere, but I can't help it. I feel like I've talked to you about this. Like I did acting and whatever as a kid. And I loved it. Like I went on auditions multiple times a week, went to acting class every single week. And it's funny now to see the people I was in acting class with, like, really, like, make it. Like, there's some big ones out there. Like, well, you know Alexandra Daddario?
Yeah.
So her brother was in my acting class, right? It's actually a good story. I think you'll appreciate. It's kind of weird. So Matt Daddario. I'm sorry if we're going really long.
No, please, let her rip. Let her rip.
So Matt Daddario, he's also, like, a great actor. He had his own show, Shadowhunters. I think that's what it's called. Whatever.
Was that the Nazi hunting show?
Oh, no, that's a different show. That was with Logan Lerman. There's another show that he was in. Okay. It was with, I forget the name of it, something of that vibe though. And so he was like 10 years older than me. And when I was in my acting class, I was my acting teacher, her name was Anne Raytrey, Devin Raytrey's mom. Devin Raytrey played Buzz in Home Alone.
Oh, wow.
And so his mom was like a pageant lady.
Cool.
He's lost it.
Yeah.
But she was like a pageant lady, actress, whatever, and it was like really hard to get into her classes. And so you had to like audition to get in her class. You had to have an agent manager, whatever. And so when I auditioned to get in her class, I was maybe in like 6th or 7th grade. So I wasn't like young, but I also wasn't old. And she just thought I looked older and like sounded older. So she put me in class with the older kids. And so Matt Daddario, 10 years older than me, around Christmas time, we never did commercial acting. It was always like very serious acting or improv, like never commercials. But around Christmas time, the class before Christmas, it would be commercial day, like have fun commercials. She always did this one where, you know, someone is pretending to eat a tangerine, like they're peeling it back, and then piece by piece, you're acting like you're having an orgasm. Uh-huh. And I had seen this the year prior when I was in her class. I'd seen someone else do it, but I was still like really young. So then next year, Christmas time, we're in class, and only me and Matt Daddario showed up. It was a very small class. And so he's sitting like where the camera is, and I'm sitting here. And she was like, do you want to do the tangerine commercial? And I was like, I guess. Like, I'm
You're
in
in seventh grade.
seventh grade. She was like, do you know what an orgasm is? And like, I didn't really, but I just said yes.
What a question. Seventh grade?
Yeah, it was crazy. And I had to just act like I knew. I obviously didn't, but I see movies. So she made me sit in front of Matt Daddario and just peel back this tangerine and piece by piece act like I was having an orgasm. And he was so uncomfortable, obviously.
Good.
He was 10 years older. He was 10 years older than me, and he was so uncomfortable. And he was just like looking down on his phone, whatever. And she started yelling at him, like, why are you on your phone? Why are you looking down? Like, look at her. And he was like, I don't want to look at her. Like, and I will remember that forever as like a just standout story to my acting class, because now I see Matt Daddario, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, should we have him on the show just to like bring up this story to him and get him real uncomfortable?
You like, remember me?
Yeah, right? Is this ringing a bell? But that was a long way to say that, like, I had always dreamed to be an actress, movies, TV, whatever, and I wanted to be in front of the camera somehow. But when I had realized that dream was falling short, when I was in high school, it kind of changed to like, well, maybe I want to be a casting director, or maybe I want to do something a little different, like more behind the scenes. The people that said Dave was right would be happy with that comment. But now that like Chicks in the Office is very established, like I will, like, that is, to me, I'll do that forever. Like that podcast, you know, I want to keep going with that. But I want to do more, even just stuff here at Barstool or in general, just more stuff that requires like acting, like doing funny stuff. Because some of my favorite Chicks in the Office episodes are just like when we go on tangents and we talk about random things, or if I make a TikTok where I'm like, this is so stupid, but just like voicing another actor and like pretending to play a part. I love acting. So just something that I can do here or just in general is like a dream of mine.
You were an early TikTok adopter.
I was, and then I stopped, which screwed me.
Why'd you stop? I thought you were great.
I started a lot in like quarantine. I think I started doing them, and I did like the voice. And I don't know. This sounds so dumb, and I know people are like, that's crazy, but doing the podcast is more like brain consuming than you think. We do it 3 times a week, and then we have like meetings and interviews like in between all that. And so sometimes when you're done, you're like, I just want to like not look at my phone and not do anything for a little bit. And I think that was probably, we had just started doing 3 times a week for the podcast while I was doing that or whatever. It's not really an excuse because it's pretty easy to do.
It's extremely relatable, though.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
It's just getting in your own head and whatever. But now I've started my TikTok up back again in the past few weeks. And now I'm just doing like very random stuff. Like I'm not putting much thought into it. Just filming things I think is funny and just throwing it up there and not even thinking about it. Because
that's a good policy.
When you think too much, then you won't end up posting because
it stops you from creating it. Totally.
And they just don't care. They're not going to skewer you for bad content.
Right.
Just throw another one on top of that.
Yeah, because then the good ones they'll see and the bad ones they won't.
Right.
Totally.
That's Rhea, everybody.
Thank you guys for having me on.
Thanks for coming on.
Chiffo. I even just said it wrong. I said my own last name wrong. Chiffo. It should be Chiffo.
Rhea Chiffo. You can catch her on Chicks in the Office. What's your Instagram?
Maria Chiffo. CIUFFO.
Yeah. There it is. What a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much.
It was really fun. We enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Episode 305, by the way, None of Your Business was the name of the episode, is the episode where we talked about that relationship, which, by the way, the title of the episode should give a clue about how we stood on that issue. None of your business.
Oh, yeah. None of your business.
That's pretty good.
It was none of anyone's business, is what was our take.
Yeah.
You gathered that
was
from
our
the
take.
title.
I remember distinctly.
When I'm sure, knowing myself, that I would have defended
He's
you.
nervous now. He's like, fuck, what did I say?
I'm not. I just don't remember. I just straight up don't remember. And that is not me.
Don't worry.
That's not a cop-out.
I am not going to go back and listen to it. I don't like going back and seeing any of that content from that time. Think it's probably just better for my well-being. But I appreciate you guys.
Yeah. For the record, fun. I would not have been worried if you were going to. Just putting that out there.
Sure.
No, looks like Julio and Rhea have beef. Whoa, I'm fine. All right, that's it. Thank you so much, Rhea.